Well, Happy New Year officially, kind of face to face, virtually at least, and not just in an email. Really excited to kick off our first meeting of the new year. And goodness, what a weird year it has been for the state of Ohio when you think about some legislative things. So I know Leo's got some updates to share with us, but we're also just in a weird limbo in some regards too when it comes to things at the state house. But Happy New Year nonetheless. Really excited to get the ball rolling and coming fresh off of my training last week in Washington, D.C. Really excited to share some things there with all of you. But I do want to try to stick to one of the things that I think that really worked for the team previously is we'll give Leo, our government relations director, the floor to kind of start off our meeting from the legislative side. And just to mention this meeting, my hopes moving forward is that we'll invite all of our active ambassadors, not just our ACT leads, because I do want it to be a space for everyone to be able to come on board, learn, hear, absorb as much as they'd like, get to watch the recordings in case they can't join the actual meetings, and then work with their ACT leads in all of our districts, to expand upon these meetings. So I do want to preface that I do plan to invite everyone to our monthly calls and be able to discuss the various topics with everyone on board. But we'll always start those calls with Leo and starting with the legislative topics and then kind of going into the grassroots side of things on how we can support Leo and what that means for all of us as action takers and active ambassadors. So, because we might have some new folks that join, for those of you that are veterans, if some things are high level, it's because I really do want us to look at it from a lens of maybe some of our newer ambassadors and me as your new staff, learning as we go as well. So I kind of wanted to start with that and then allow Leo to introduce himself if there are any folks who haven't met him and kind of kick us off for some things wrapping up since we met in December. And we've, of course, had a lot of active Friday emails since December when we met last. So kind of just going from there, Leo, if you don't mind to start us off.
Great, thanks, Sarah, and good evening, everyone. If there's anyone on the call I haven't met, I'm Leo Almeida, the Ohio Government Relations Director. So I know some of you kind of paid attention to some of the things in the news as the year got started at the State House. There was a bit of a shakeup with the leadership. So we do have a new speaker. It wasn't the speaker that anyone expected. For good or bad. I think you could look at it both ways. So Jason Stevens is now the Speaker of the House, and he's from Southeast, South Central Ohio, I guess, is probably the better way to describe it. And he has been slow to get things started because no one expected him to be the speaker. So it's been a little kind of a weird couple of weeks. So just today, they announced the committees and the committee chairs and vice chairs, which is something that we've been waiting for a while. I'm really hoping that they will announce the committee membership later this week. It might not happen though until after their retreat, which is at the end of the month on June 30th, and I think it's a 2-day retreat. So we're kind of just going off what we know. So for the things that we pay attention to, there typically have been two main committees in terms of our kind of content area: the health committee and the insurance committee. And then whenever we have a state budget like we do this year, we obviously pay attention to the finance committee. So the committees in the House this year are a little bit different. They have more than I've ever known them to have. So we do still have an insurance committee. The health committee is now the Public Health Policy Committee. And there's an additional health committee called, let me make sure I get the name right, Health Provider Services Committee. And I have no idea what that means in terms of the bills that they will be receiving.
So there's
So
actually two, Leo.
what's
There's
that?
two health committees?
No.
Or is it
Um,
one health committee and subdivided?
nope, not that either. It is two separate standing committees. Um, we don't know why they've created this new health providers services committee. I'm trying to gather some intel on that. I'm sure we will be hearing more. I'm a little fearful that it's a committee that's going to be used to deal with controversial issues like anti-vaccine policies. So that's my big concern. But right now we just don't know anything other than the name and the chair and the vice chair of the committee. Um, we will want to see most of our policies go to the Public Health Policy Committee, which is what has typically been the Health Committee in the past. Any questions about just kind of that weird transition phase that we're in at the State House before I jump into the policy goals?
And I'll just share, I'm going to send Leo the document we got with the committee chairs for anyone that doesn't follow that, perhaps, so everyone can see both the House chairs and the previously already announced Senate chairs for down the road, too. So that'll be a part of Friday's email.
So for our main policy goals this year, obviously, things come up that we support, oppose here and there. But the main ones that we're going to focus on are the biomarker bill, which we will hope to have reintroduced soon. I just met with Representative Andrea White last week. She was our sponsor of the bill last year and agreed to be our sponsor again this year. And she's very eager to get started. So her and I have been exchanging text messages and emails trying to get this going, and just looked at some bill language today that's been redrafted for this year. So probably we'll see the introduction of that bill within the next couple of weeks. The House has not really started to introduce bills yet. They probably will open the door for that soon. Again, that's one thing that might wait until after their retreat, as they try to kind of figure things out. We have a lot of folks also eager to support the biomarker bill. As far as our coalition goes, we just had an additional signatory add on over the weekend. So we have 44 groups that are on our sign-on letter now. So really great work on the biomarker bill and really putting us on good footing to get started. We hope that this bill, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, will go to this Public Health Policy Committee, which is chaired by Scott Lips, which we are very happy about. That was uncertain. He did not vote for the speaker that got elected. And usually when you don't vote for the speaker, you don't get a chairmanship. So I was honestly surprised to see him be the chair, which is great. The vice chair is Brian Stewart, who has been around for a couple of years. He has previously been on the health committee, not as vice chair, but he did vote for our biomarker bill when it passed committee last year. So that's also great to see. The other policy that we are going to be working on is the copay accumulator. God willing, we will get this one done after 5-6 years. Susan Manchester, again, will be the sponsor of this bill. I am going to get an update on that tomorrow, so I don't have enough to share tonight. But you'll hear from me on this eventually. Our focus is going to be, that we saw it pass the House right last year unanimously, so we're not too worried. Might have to maneuver a couple of things just to get it out of the House again, but not too worried about that. The focus is really going to be on the Senate because that's where the bill stalled last year. And I know Susan Manchester is also working the Senate side already. So again, not a whole lot to update there yet, but that's another bill that we will likely see start in the House in the next couple of weeks. And then other than just legislation, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, because it's a budget year, we do have budget asks. The two main budget asks that we have this year is a $5.5 million increase for tobacco cessation and tobacco control. That might be a tough one because the tobacco program at the Department of Health has been underspending the past 2 years. 2 years ago, we could get away and say that was because of the pandemic. This past year, they should have been spending more. So we'll have to kind of see how that impacts us when we start talking about the budget. And then the other request is to continue funding for the breast and cervical cancer project at $1.1 million per year. So we will see the governor's budget roll out probably the first week of February. And then the House will have their first shot at the budget over the first couple of months. They'll pass it, send it to the Senate. The Senate will make their changes. And then towards the end of June, we'll start to see some horse trading with different issues and different amounts. And it'll be chaotic for probably the entire month of June. And then June 30th, hopefully not at midnight, hopefully sooner than that, they will pass the budget bill and the budget will start on July 1st. So that is kind of legislatively what we have to look forward to for the next 6 months. And then I know Sarah mentioned it in one of her Friday emails. We are obviously very eager to schedule Cancer Action Day at the State House this year. We can't do that until they release the House schedule, which they have not done. Usually by now we would know. So this is just one of those side effects of having a shakeup in leadership. So again, this will happen next couple weeks, sometime between now and right after their retreat. As soon as we know, we will schedule it. We are hoping for the last 2 weeks of April is our target. And that's pretty much all I have. Any questions?
What a start to the year, right? And like I mentioned, I'll recap the committee announcements of chairs, which, like Leo said, was hot off the press for the House today on finding out who those committee chairs are. So I'll make sure that those are attached in this Friday's email for updates. But really great things to get the year started with both the biomarker and copay, knowing we've got the same sponsors and we've set such a great starting ground point with a lot of your testimonies and various things. So we'll continue to push those and call on all of you when we need support as Leo starts to meet with these reps and already has with Rep White, like he mentioned. So thank you, Leo, for everything. If anything else comes up when we're chatting, we'll let you know. But we'll switch kind of to the grassroots side of things now with that. Knowing all the updates Leo mentioned, Pam, I'll let you. Do you have a question before we get started?
I was busy writing. What month are we looking for Cancer Action Day?
We're going to go for April 18th and 19th is the hopeful targets, but we also were considering the last week of the 25th, 26th, knowing that Tuesday, Wednesdays generally work best because that's when our legislators are in person in office. So we are hoping and prioritizing for that April 18th or 19th because the following weekend is SLA Summit. So if we had to have it the same week, that's okay, but just internally, like I mentioned in one of my Friday emails, that's our hope and our target dates, but we'll let you know the second we have a confirmation.
Okay, thank you. I just missed the month.
Yeah, hopefully a little later. April gives us some time, even with this weird hold that we're in. So I think we'll all be okay with some extra time, right, to plan and recruit. So going back to a mid to late April date, which I know we've done in the past. Awesome. So just some updates for me, and then really want to do some screen sharing and hopefully be able to support all of you and answer some questions and schedule some additional meetings moving forward. For those of you I haven't met in person yet, know that my hope is because I'm what I'd consider a bit more settled after the holidays, the new year, training in DC last week. My hope is to really start reaching out to some of you individually because I would love to get to talk with you one-on-one, whether that's in a Teams call, in person. My hope is to be able to, we've got a good chunk of ambassadors in Ohio, which is a good thing to have. But I hope to really be able to reach out to all of you and schedule some time for us just to chat, get to know each other a bit more personally. But what I really wanted to focus tonight's first meeting on is I'm really excited that our new year has started strong with Pam Nice and Vince Marchetta, our SLA and Vice SLA, meeting with me already once a week, and I know we'll continue that strong. But wanted to just open, I know that's putting you on the spot, but if Pam and or Vince had anything to say to kick us off tonight, wanted you to be able to say hi. I know I introduced them in email, but being our first call, if you had any hello or message you wanted to start us off before we dive into kind of our redistricting and map focus, I wanted to introduce Pam and Vince to say hi.
Hi, everyone. It's Pam. Most of you know me by now. I made a pie mistake earlier, but that's okay. Um, I am just so excited to be in this position, and hopefully I can help everybody move forward. And one of my biggest goals for this team is to keep going on strong, and maybe to recruit some more people around the state so that we have a more robust, and we can get some things finalized with the lawmakers. We need more people to say we want this done or we want that done. So that's my one of my goals. Um, as always, anyone can reach out to me, or I might reach out to you. However you want to do it, I'm always here. The end.
Thanks, Pam.
And I'm Vince. I know most of you. I'm just really excited to assist Pam and Sarah in anything and everything they may want or need from me. So looking forward to an exciting year. We'll see all the fun things that we're going to be able to accomplish this year.
Yeah. Thank you, both of you. And with that, there is so much change, right? So sometimes that can be scary, that can be intimidating, and I completely understand that. And with that, we have a complete redistrict of our state, right? So it's just all coming at us at once, right? So new staff, new volunteer leadership, new districts, and we're all going to work on that together. You know, I really want these meetings, again, to reiterate, inviting all ambassadors to be a safe space to learn. And hopefully, you know, I can continue to learn through all of you as well, because many of you are veterans and have been here for so long, but a lot of you are newer faces in the last couple of years too. And with COVID and so much virtual, you know, we'll be shifting to getting back in person a lot. And hopefully we can all really lean on each other to attend events together to represent ACS CAN. And we have these large asks that we hope to finally solidify in the next year or two, with both biomarker copay accumulator. So it's going to take all of us. And so I do want to preface, you know, though the change can be a lot, that we're all here for each other, and no question is a bad question. And I'm hoping to be able to support all of you the best that I can as I continue to learn as well. So with that is the redistricts, and this impacts a lot more of us than I think we realized. So I did want to start with that, and how we as a team can find resources at an easy available place. So some feedback I got right when I jumped in, you know, and hit the ground running as your new grassroots manager was about the Google Drive. And what I realized is I am by no means a pro, though Julie might say I am. It's actually my husband who really is the techie guy behind the scene. So I always go to him if I don't know the answer. But my hope is I can beef up some of our places, if you will, like the Google Drive, for you all to be able to access. And when I looked at our Google Drive, what I realized is, one, it's not a shared drive, which means I have to own, and you all tell me, uploading things to that drive, because you all can't access that just by yourselves and upload. So, you know, Julie, I know we've talked offline. If any of you feel like you have great resources that perhaps are from previous years, long ago and you want to share those with me and we want to get those uploaded to the drive, that is one of the first things when I was just doing some observation that I realized. So in the chat, I've already put a link, and I will make sure that this is at the top of every Friday email. I created this to be, though it's not a shared drive, as shareable as it can be. So essentially, I'm going to share my screen. I played around with the account a bit, and though I can't change the account to be a shared drive for all of you to be able to log in and access like I thought initially, I was able to make one folder essentially and moved all of the other folders that were already here under that. And I can share with you a folder, which works. So that's the link that I sent you. I was able to share this Ohio ACS CAN resources folder with you and all of these subfolders. So please make sure you check that out in the chat. And again, I will send that in all of our Friday emails. My hope is to make that the top of the email. And in this, you're going to find what this was the old files. We can continue to kind of work around these. In fact, I've already began to beef up them. These are where our topics that we talk about need to be represented. So all of you feel like you can come to this and find any of the things you may want. So say you're going to an event. Maybe you're going to go to a local Relay for Life, or you're going to go to a local Making Strides. I've already started to add some files here. And again, this is just the beginning. There are so many more files, I'm certain, that we could all put our heads together and begin adding here. But a membership form. What are the benefits of becoming a member? Why become a member? What do your donations at work mean? Essentially, where does the money go? A handbook. Say there's a relay that is going to have an advocacy lead on their committee. We should be sending them this handbook. I love this digital, what can your $10 do? And this certificate, if any of our ACS events recruit 40 members for us, look how great this is. We could recognize them and send them a lovely certificate and put their event name on it. It may not want to load for me because I have so many things open, but that's just events. Say you're doing fundraising, Lights of Hope. This is an even bigger document of where the money goes, kind of a good visual. Cancer Action Day, as we really begin to work around Cancer Action Day, I've made a 2023 folder for us. I really want to be able to upload things here. Already, they've shared with us staff a toolkit. So I've already uploaded that for all of us. And as we begin talking through Cancer Action Day, we can use this toolkit as a guide. As we get petitions and various things, I will hope to be able to add them here for you. Other just general documents, and maybe I'll even rename this folder General Volunteer Documents. Our logo, which is so important. You all might need that, especially because they just got updated. Maybe you want to make a business card. I have found this really wonderful business card template that you could all use and make. This is our new map. So when we were just talking about districts and what we'll dive into a little more, here's our new Ohio district map. So this is just the beginning. Again, this is just within a week of me really playing around, realizing the way to make it as easily accessible for all of you, adding a few documents I've been able to find online, but please offline share with me when you're able to go in and look at this, things that are missing, things you wish you had, and I will do my best to find those and work with all of you that maybe are veteran advocates to upload any documents that have been helpful for you. Because I want this to be a living, breathing, working space that all of you feel like you can go to when you're about to prep for a lawmaker meeting and you want to print something. My hope is if you're going to get ready to go to a relay meeting, you'll know there's a relay file and you should check there, to find anything before you go that you find will be helpful for that meeting. So know that what I sent you previously, to essentially try to log in to the account is not the best way to go about it. This new link that I sent you is a shareable, anyone that has the link, so it can just kind of stay within our group of all of our ambassadors. That's an active place for you to go and not have to worry about logging in. You'll just find everything immediately. So hopefully you've maybe already clicked that, or you can after our time together, and then you can spend some time kind of reviewing it, and we'll just keep building upon that space as somewhere to access resources. I know that was
Sarah,
a lot.
it's
Any
Pam.
thoughts on that? Yeah.
Sarah, it's Pam. Where did you said you sent the link to? In the chat?
In the chat. Yeah, it's in the chat, but I'll email it Friday. So I can reset. It's at the very beginning. It might not have, depending on your time of logging
Yeah,
in,
I don't.
perhaps.
Yeah,
Let me
I
recopy
just see
it.
my own. Yeah, I just see my
Yeah.
own.
I will resend that link for everybody because I do think maybe Teams gets a little weird and only shows you things in the chat based on when you logged in. So I'm just gonna recopy and paste that right now. So there's your new link. Again, I'm gonna make this kind of the top of my Friday emails too, moving forward. And the second one is the YouTube Drive, and that is accessible to anyone. So thankfully, that doesn't matter from a lens of needing a login or needing a shared link. But I do plan and intend, just like the December meeting, to record all of our calls and upload them to our YouTube account. So as you can see, I've kind of already rebranded it. There's a great group photo, the name, and here's our December upload. I will upload this one for tonight, in case anyone's not able to join us, and all the future calls moving forward. So that way you feel as though you can stay caught up on any meetings that you might miss, and you don't have to only rely on typed minutes perhaps, but you can actually go and watch the meeting. And sometimes something might come up during these calls that you have to go off camera or can't listen as closely, and maybe you want to refresh even if you are able to attend. So know that that's a priority for me too. Are those two spaces, our resource drive and the YouTube, just for basic things to start us off. So please review those and give me any feedback you can on what's missing, what resources you need added, things that would be helpful for you, and we can continue to beef up those resource folders. Any questions on that? And then we can kind of think about the new district map. That's one of the major topics events Pam and I said we kind of wanted to spend most of our time talking about, but I did want to reiterate these resource spaces that I had mentioned in my Friday email and just see if there were any questions or thoughts on that. No? Okay, so how many people know their new current district? And it's okay if you don't. Anyone questioning their new district? No? Okay, so what I realized in looking at the major list that Robin had sent me is how many people we did have shift in districts. Alik, you're an example. You're just right in front of my screen. So that one I know, you and Jody are now both in District 1 in Cincinnati instead of 1 and 2. So, that's just one example, but there are a lot. Julie, you're another example of a shift. Tom and I now joined the same district. We used to be in neighboring districts. There were a ton of changes for Ohio. And so that image I uploaded was just, I'm a visual person, so I did go find a map and just found it beneficial to see a color-coded, space. So seeing those changes was really helpful for me in a perspective of looking at this again in a color coordinated way. And then what I have done here is this is the master list that was kind of handed over to me from Robin and our who we were, considered for these meeting purposes, active ambassadors and active ACT leads. And so what I think was really helpful was looking at this from a lens of our districts. And these are the updated districts. So if anyone, especially for watching this recording, does have a question about where your new district is, you can look at this map, but also I have that information, just having everyone's addresses in our system. But what I really wanted to focus on was I am using this document of all of you in kind of sorting it both from your name, but also where your district. And what I realized is where our potential gaps are, where we don't currently have active ambassadors, yet alone an act lead. I don't even want to really focus just on that lead title, but anyone actively signed up to receive my Friday emails and be really engaged on an informational level. And so that's what I want to share with you all tonight, is where those gaps are, and us really put our heads together on recruiting individuals, to Pam's point, that being a big goal of hers, that we can all come together and get new ambassadors. I want to be able to transparently tell you where those gaps are, that we don't currently have representation. One being number 2. And so this is what I would consider, one of the big changes of Cincinnati. And that's that there was such a shift here. And again, we have great representation for 1, but now the way that number 2 district is outlined, we don't currently have anyone engaged for this kind of suburbs of Cincy going into where our new Speaker of the House sits, as Leo shared with you. So Jason Stevens is here in this Lawrence Gallia Jackson district. From a House perspective, this is obviously a congressional map, but included in this is his area. And as the new Speaker of the House, that's important for us to note, that he sits here and that this is a major priority, from both that side of Ohio, but congressionally too. This is a major focus for us, those Cincinnati suburbs and beyond. Also 8 is a gap for us. So this is North Cincinnati coming to the side of the Dayton, Miami Valley area where I sit. So it could be just north of us in that northern Miami Valley, or just north of Cincinnati. But these 2 districts, we have 0 ambassador activity currently sitting. So those are the 2 major priority, as well as 6 here on the far side of the state, which I think has always been a tougher spot of focus for us. But those are the 3 major areas. Christy, I will say, because I know you're on the call, not to put any pressure on you, we're ecstatic. 12 was one of our areas we were concerned. You are our representation right now in 12, and we're just so thrilled that you've recently have joined us and are really wanting to hit the ground running, because that was something I was interested in looking at, and then realized that you do sit in 12, because that was originally going to be an area of focus that we shared. Now we absolutely should focus on getting more folks in 12 to help you. But we do have at least your representation there, but none in 8, 12, or 6. So I'm going to stop there and just kind of let everybody absorb that info and see if anybody has any thoughts
So Jill
initially
is
right
an
off the
N6?
bat.
Jill is not in 6?
Correct. We have no one in 6 currently,
Which,
based on redistrict.
which district is Jill in?
Are you referring to Jill McFarland?
Yeah.
Okay, let me double check, because I have it shifted currently as she is in 14. And I can reshare that map if that helps you, Pam. But Jill McFarland is now in 14 up this way. So she does not fall in 6 anymore.
Maybe an idea would be for recruiting in 12, because there's Athens County there, like maybe sending it to some people at the university, or like a call to like one of the places at the university, either for like faculty, or things like that, who might be interested, who like work in that area.
Like, do you mean 2?
Two. Yes.
No, 12.
Right. Oh, 12. So helping Christy here. You mean Athens County?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
In
No, I
Hawking, you could
agree.
do Hawking College too. They've got that in too.
I thought that as well. That's, yeah, similar thought where we have some university perhaps just
Yeah.
as a great initial cold outreach, because it could,
Yep.
I mean, you never know. It could definitely help us because they're already strong institutions. I also thought about centers. Do you know off the top of your head, Butler County, I feel, has some pretty strong hospital system representation there, right? Am I making that up, or are they all in
But
one?
so I think what UC Westchester's in Butler.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Hmm.
So that could be a thought too, is any major hospital systems perhaps if needed for, we're leaning on some partners maybe that we have where there are hospital accounts in these certain counties.
Yeah.
Julie, I of course come from my event brain and think about where do we maybe have strong events, and Miami County has a very strong relay
do.
still when we think about 8. So these are things for us to consider where there's also events, and we could lean on some of our relay strides or ACS side partners on really focusing on trying to find some potential interested volunteers. And sadly, because we have had some change in our event structure, Miami County is one of them, that came to mind because we don't necessarily have staff leading those events right now. I think they're remote supported. So we might have some friends on the ACS side, and I can say that, coming from the ACS event side, that are wanting to stay engaged with us. And maybe this is a great avenue for them to continue their work with ACS and ACS Can. So we could look at events too.
Sarah, is
Mhm.
Laura Wolf Warren County?
That's a real, don't know where she resides.
She's in Franklin? I think she's south of Miami or Montgomery County.
That'd be interesting to look at direct address for her when we think relay folks. That's a really great thought. Yeah, I see where your brain's working there. Where do we know individuals from the ACS side that maybe have shifted to some of these districts, and where do they fall? That's a great one I could look at.
Sarah, my brain goes ka-chunk, 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 not.
It's still moving. I know you're thinking those ways.
Sarah, point of clarification. You said that we need representatives from District 6, 8, and 12.
2.
2.
And 2. 6, 8, and 2.
We were going to be sharing 12, but we're really excited that we have Christy, who's on the call, who just joined us from 12. So she's our only 12. And we should, of course, try to build that. We don't want to leave one solo ambassador, but it's not a complete empty district for us now, at least with Christy's support now. Yep. So I at least wanted to share that, and I'll put that as part of the notes. I think it's important for us to try to think, long term ahead. I wanted to just be as transparent as possible, where our gaps are from a congressional side of things. We'll consider some of this info when we prep for, September, when it comes time for Lobby Day and Summit. So Pam, Vince, and I kind of went through that list, and I just wanted to make sure that we shared that with all of you, where our gaps were from a congressional side of things. We'll also look at this when we prep for Cancer Action Day on Ohio House and Senate side. So this is just congressional. Know that I'll do the same thing, as we're starting to recruit and send our save the date for Cancer Action Day once we get that day confirmed. We want to look at districts from that perspective too, on who our targets might be and major areas for who we'd want to have in attendance with us in April at the State House. So again, this is just congressional districts, at least for now, to share with you, but we will really look at this from a lens of as people start signing up for Cancer Action Day, where we want to target inviting folks as well down the road. Any thoughts on district or questions?
I can't
can
remember
help.
what district it was, but the one that has Tuscarawas County in it, it was green, I think.
Tusk. Yes, that is 12 where Christy is.
Well, okay.
Mhm.
I have an ex-VLC member who lives in Dover in Tuscarawas County, and I know a few people that were once with the Tuscarawas, no, yeah, I guess it changed, the Tuscarawas County Relay.
Oh, awesome. That would be
It's
fantastic.
actually both relays, you know, the Newcomers Town one plus the Dover one, and it combined into one, and then it defuncted.
Yeah, I mean, any way we can continue to engage folks, because that's a pretty large district too, Pam. You know, that's got a lot of counties. Probably one of our biggest districts to cover.
And Sarah, where is Waynesville? What district?
Ooh,
7.
is
Are you talking
that
Wayne County?
No, Waynesville.
Waynesville, the city?
okay.
What county is Waynesville in? That's a really great thought.
Fayette, maybe? I don't know.
Is it Fayette? That would be in your area. If so, let's Google that. Are you thinking Dayton VLC?
I'm
know.
thinking Joni Crine.
Yeah. Waynesville, Ohio. What county is that? Warren County.
Ooh.
So she's won now with Alik and Jody.
Oh. Okay. I don't have the picture in front.
I know, I can reshare. But no, see, this is where it's very helpful to kind of get our brains thinking about who are our partners, who do we know, where do they maybe live, where do they shift in this change? Because that's a big change, the way that this shaped up. So that would be one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we could talk about this for so long and look at this picture, right? But I just ask that you take some time to maybe reflect and look at the pictures, think about folks that maybe were engaged previously, or where you could go and recruit based on where the counties are now falling, because some of them are so close to us. So, you know, Alik, that thought about Cincinnati, I'm like, I'm certain we know some folks that are in Butler or in, you know, it's like we just got to kind of brainstorm looking at this map because they're so close in some districts. You know, I brought that up, Julie, about Miami County being so close to us in Dayton, but now shifted in a new congressional being an 8. So, you know, thinking who we could go to and recruit, and then I can help you all out in the districts actively recruiting. You know, we could go to the Miami County Relay folks, Julie, because we used to have a relationship with them and say, we're in need here. You know, we have a complete gap, and see if anyone's interested or will let us speak at their relay meetings. So brainstorm, send me any thoughts you have, and we can kind of talk about it again, recap in next month's meeting. But I challenge all of you, if you can, look at that map further, look at those gaps, and brainstorm how we could recruit in some of those empty areas to plan ahead. And we can actively come up with a plan on how to try to engage more individuals.
I have to tell you, I am so pleased to see all those people that are in Congressional District 4. I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for them, but we had nobody.
That's funny you said that.
Yeah, other than that, we could find nobody.
It's really funny you said that, Pam, because other Pam and I were talking about that. You know, there was a lot of change in her 5 and the shift to 4. It's like we had no one, now we've got 5, you know, and that North Columbus area definitely shifted kind of shook things up for us, and now there's a lot of representation there in 4. So definitely thought the same thing. Yeah. So just a lot of change overall. But appreciate all of you kind of brainstorming, thinking how we can recruit. We can circle back on that in the next meeting, but definitely send me any thoughts you have, and we can actively come up with some plans to support each other, maybe going to places to try to recruit. To wrap us up, and we'll definitely open it up to you all for questions, but for tonight's purposes, I know Leo mentioned we really, really hope to get our Cancer Action Day date finalized within the next week or two. And we, shared our target dates, but I would like to have a call to action. Anyone that's interested, we are going to try to do a Cancer Action Day subcommittee to plan. I know that's something we've done in the past, and because we have a short amount of time till April, quick 3 months, anyone that's interested in joining a subcommittee to branch off from this full meeting to help us plan the details and kind of engagement around that day, I'm going to send a survey with the meeting minutes and reiterate in Friday's update email. If you don't mind filling that out, if you're interested in joining that subcommittee, I really would like to try to get a date scheduled quickly for us to jump on a call. Even though we don't have a confirmed date, we could definitely still be talking about the major arching plans of the day. And so if you're interested in joining a Cancer Action Day subcommittee, that's a priority for Leo and I. And we just ask that you fill out my quick survey that I'll send with where your interests might lie, and we'll get a meeting scheduled pretty quickly for us to meet separately before our February call. Speaking of February, I also mentioned in my Friday email, if you didn't see it, that all ambassadors across the country are invited to, in 2 weeks, the All Leads call, the national All Leads call on February 7th on Tuesday. This is going to be the virtual kickoff for Lights of Hope, the new system. And so in my Friday email, I listed that link. They use a system called Remo. Hopefully I'm not saying that wrong. It's not Microsoft Teams, but they use Remo. It's a really fun, interactive way to meet. It's definitely different than Teams, but the link was embedded there in my email. If you're able to make it and you're really engaged and interested in hearing about the Lights of Hope launch, they have asked us to share that wide with all of our ambassadors. So anyone is welcome to join that call, and wanted to make sure that I circled back and highlighted that from my email this past Friday, that if you can add it to your calendar and you're free, we'd love for you to be on that to hear and see all the things that we'll get to hear about Lights of Hope for 2023. That was really all I had on the agenda for today's call, knowing that we have a ton to come, with our Cancer Action Day subcommittee. We'll get a lot of info about launching Lights of Hope on that February 7th call. Does anyone have any questions or things that we can answer?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I used the new report back form.
So glad you brought that up.
Can I access that to see what I actually ended up putting in? I could have sworn one time it gave me feedback on what I put in there, but this last time I got nothing.
So to my knowledge, you're supposed to get an email confirmation. Julie's nodding her head. I have not used the report back form, but I was told this new report back sends you automatically, after you submit, an email of what you submitted.
Report it again, Pam.
Okay,
So
luckily
maybe it
I
didn't go
took
through.
screenshots of what I put in there because I met with my new lawmaker. And so I had a lot of crap I put in there.
Yeah. My understanding is, yes, you should automatically, right after, that was a refresh of this new report back, that you get an automated email of exactly what you inputted.
So then we could put those emails in a file and we could go back and see anytime what we did.
Great
Okay.
thought. Yeah, I think so. You could kind of use them as resources, to help you remember, did I report that? Did I not? Absolutely. That's a great thought.
Okay. All right. I'll re-report. Can you get to it to know if I did or not?
I don't directly receive the reports. Lauren does every Monday, and then I get them from her. So I can definitely reference anything. If we need to go back, I can partner with Lauren and see what was a part of our Ohio reports every Monday.
And if I put it in a second time and it actually did go through, you guys won't mind seeing it twice? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. No.
Okay.
I'd rather it go through and you make sure you knew it went through than to not submit.
Okay.
Great. I'm so glad you brought that up. Another great resource I know I highlighted in a couple of my last Friday emails, that new form. So definitely encourage everyone to use it and give us your feedback.
Sarah, at some point, I think it would be nice if we put our heads together on best practices for Lights of Hope, successes, things that weren't successes. How can we help each other? How can we team up and do great things? We always do here in Ohio, and I think that there are some tools that not everyone would be familiar with, and unless they are presented in a manner that everybody can understand, they may not be used. Simple things like creating your QR code and putting it on a flyer to hand out to folks. If I make a cold call, if I check with businesses in my district, how do you talk to a potential sponsor? Those kinds of things I think are helpful to people that may have some hesitance about Lights of Hope.
And my hope is, I'm so glad you brought that up, Julie, that, coming from a fundraising background, hopefully I can help with that and really support you all as a broader team. And I'm excited to see what they share with us, February 7th on the launch, and then we can really hit the ground running on adding a file in our Google Drive just for Lights of Hope. And we can create things like that. Like you said, Julie, a place to go, and I can do a how-to on making a QR code or whatever it may be. I love, that you're thinking ahead on that. And I definitely want to be able to support the team as best as I can, since I'm comfortable, talking about fundraising for so long in my old role. And so I think what we'll also do is share our goals. Lauren and I have talked about very briefly, but that will be a broader conversation. What is our Ohio goal for fundraising for 2023? And all of that should be finalized soon. So I do want to share that with all of you because it's our broader full team goal. And that encompasses not just Lights of Hope. So new for goals this year, they're branching it just as fundraising overall. Lights of Hope is a line item there, but it's the Laughter Can Cure that Barb plans. It's our auction I know that you all have done online. It's maybe we refocus on Cancer's a Drag in Dayton, like I know you wanted to do pre-COVID, partnering, with the Ruby Girls here in Dayton. And so overall, we're going to get a full total of a fundraising goal, and then we all can collectively work on achieving that through all streams of fundraising, not just Lights of Hope. So that'll definitely be an ongoing conversation for us once we get our finalized goal for Ohio.
Side question for Julie that has nothing to do with anything. I really want to come see the Ruby Girls. Do you think with all this going on with drag queens that there's going to be any problems if you get something together?
I think that we'll tackle it gracefully.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sarah, when I started the first time, I was flying pretty much solo. And with Sarah here locally with a lot of contacts, I think that we will make sure that we handle it with grace and care.
And they're such a well-known name. They handle themselves pretty gracefully. In the local market, they're very well supported. So,
well, I have to, believe that since they're a charitable group, they provide so much, money towards organizations that they would be welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think that you have a market of folks that are accepting of people's differences and a market of those that are not. And you make sure that you reach out to the people that you think would enjoy a drag queen presentation.
And that's just one major example, to get when we start talking about fundraising, all of your brains thinking about that's just one potential new event. The sky's the limit on ideas, and hopefully I'll represent that it's a safe space to think about creative fundraising tactics, because I've seen it all in my 10 years of coming from the development pillar for ACS. No idea is a bad idea. So if you've got one and you want to talk it over and think about how the best way to approach it would be, please know that I love to talk fundraising too, just because it's what my old background was. So I'm a safe space to go to if you've got fun ideas like that, because I remember when Julie called me and told me about, cancer's a drag idea. And so absolutely creatively think about anywhere your mind might go for ways we can fundraise with ACS Can. And we'll continue to talk about that ongoing. Great, thanks. Any final thoughts or questions to wrap us up for the evening?
Mr. Paymer, can you stay on for just a second, please?
Well, I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for your time tonight. So great to virtually see so many of you. And we will talk soon. And I will have that survey to come as well if you're interested in joining the Cancer Action Day subcommittee. So thank you all so much. Keep in
Good
touch.
job, Sarah.
Thanks, Pam.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, Julie.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Hey, Julie.
Yes.
We were talking to some of our friends.